Hello, Highrock. I miss being with you in person as we are most years, but I'm delighted we get to be together this way. I'm Dave, and I've been with Highrock from the very beginning. So I've had a front row seat to see God changing us, challenging us, and helping us grow in love for God, one another, and our world. In the past 20 years, truly the Lord has done more than we ever thought of to ask for or imagine. And one of the ways that God has done that, one way that God has shaped us, blessed us, and given us greater reach is through adoptions, which wasn't something we had planned on. And you may be aware that I know a thing or two about adoption. It was not my wife's and my original plan, but rather abruptly, 20 years ago, we adopted a son. It was wonderful and challenging, and it changed us. We loved that kid like crazy. Then we adopted a daughter from Korea, and a few years later, a Mexican son. Then, when we thought we were finished for sure, suddenly God dropped 3 teenage refugees from Africa in our laps, and we adopted them, even though we couldn't even speak the same language. Every time we thought our family was full, God opened doors to another adoption and another. So that today we have 11 children. So like I say, I know a few things about adoption. And here's what I've learned. Every time it seems exciting in the beginning, but soon reality sets in and you discover that having another human in the house is hard, especially when those people already have a language, a history, and personalities of their own. It's hard work learning how to communicate and comprehend each other. It's uncomfortable when they challenge your assumptions that you thought everybody shared. But at the same time, it's enriching as they help you see through new lenses and ask new questions that you hadn't even thought of before. It's hilarious as you start to see yourself through their eyes and discover how strange you actually are. It helps you question things about yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise, which can be so enriching. And then the weirdest part happens. At a moment you never expected it, you fall in love. Now, we loved each of our kids the moment we adopted them, in the sense that we were completely devoted to their well-being. But we didn't really know them yet. When you bring a stranger into your home, despite everyone's best intentions, it feels strange. Every interaction requires effort, interpretation, and second guessing. And then one day, without warning, it hits you. Somewhere in the middle of this awkward process, we became a family. Now they're a part of you, and you them. You love each other, not just as a decision, but in the deepest part of your heart. And in that beautiful process, both of us are changed. The changes they experience are obvious. They get a new name and a new home and a new future. They learn English and they're grafted into our culture. But we change too, because our culture now includes their culture. Our language changes, our assumptions change, our priorities change. My name stays the same, but my dreams change. God has used them to bless us at least as much as we've been used to bless them. And I tell you all this because I've discovered that these same dynamics describe every time we adopt another church. It's exciting beforehand, but quickly becomes awkward and hard work. We have to learn how to communicate. Our culture and assumptions are challenged. But through that, God changes us. Both of us. They get a new name and a new future, and we get new gifts, new perspectives, new dreams and possibilities. Our culture is changed as they are a part of it. And along the way, at a moment you could never predict, and for reasons you may not be able to explain, the strangest thing happens. You fall in love. You discover that you're one family. And now you can't imagine your family without them. And you feel desolate at the thought of that. Over the years, God has helped our church family grow in ways that we never planned on through adoption. And I don't just mean growth in numbers. I mean growth in gifts and passions and perspectives and personalities and cultures and dreams. Today, we want to share a few of those stories with you so that we can celebrate together the way that God has formed this unexpected but wonderful High Rock Church family.
Pastor Susan started praying, walking through the church and praying for people, praying for little kids to come and be part of the church. And I'm sure others were doing the same thing. But year after year, we got more and more in the red. And someone came in and analyzed the whole situation and told us, bottom line, you have one more year and then you're going to have to just close the doors. I went over to High Rock having heard that the music is loud, there's a lot of people, so forth. Make sure you sit way up back. And so I kind of did. I brought one of my daughters along with me so that if I needed to talk it over, I'd had somebody to talk it over with. And I started falling completely in love with it. Like, where has High Rock been all my life? God knows I love people. And I love greeting them. There were 250 people for me to meet. And in addition to that, I loved the music. I feel like I'm really celebrating the Lord when I go to High Rock. Then we had the Stowe Chapel, part of High Rock. And then there were kids running all over the place, people in the church. So God sometimes answers questions, but not in prayer, but not in the way you want it and not in your timing. So then the building did have the children and the people in it. High Rock brought a lot to us. Hopefully we brought a lot. I know we brought Pastor Susan, and along with Pastor Susan always comes prayer. And I think we brought some of that attention to prayer with us. It's been the best thing for me, and I think you've heard me say it before, I think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
I can tell you we often talked about it as if it were a Red Sea moment. That spiritual metaphor came up from time to time because it seemed like there was this large expanse in front of us that we couldn't cross, and we certainly couldn't cross without God leading us there. I said to one of my co-team members at one point, like, this is not going to happen unless God parts the sea in front of us. There was theological questions, just your basic get to know you, do we like each other? Then questions of desires on our side. What is our desire for our people, for our congregation, for our neighborhood, for God's kingdom? And then of course High Rock had those exact same questions for its own people. And how did those come together? So little by little, we asked the questions, and it seemed like God did keep parting that Red Sea in front of us. So we would take another step, and then we would meet with some water, and then keep asking the questions, and then he kept parting it. And we really did feel guided by him specifically to High Rock in a way that he made safe for us to step out in faith. One great example for High Rock Metro West is the Jog for Joy, which was our 5K that our congregation sponsored last December and that we hope to sponsor again. That is a fabulous connection of connecting to God's purposes and connecting to God's people. We connected to each other, we connected to our neighbors, we invited everyone that we knew to come to this 5K and to say, this is what we care about mental health, and we care about it because we love Jesus. And so that's just a really good example of how this new community has come together and has bonded in ways to create something that we care about together and to work on the connectings together. And that is what my family's in it for.
Our history is of people who want to introduce others to Jesus. And we came to a point where it was getting harder and harder for us to do that, but the desire, the wanting to do that was still there. We sometimes laugh about the fact that, we prayed for more people and then High Rock showed up.
I mean, I see this as basically our ministry going forward, and even now as it's a combined church, it's still one church, it's still a covenant church,
What gives me excitement for the future is to know that there's going to be a Covenant Church here on the corner of Whitwell and Granite Streets for as long as God wants it to be here, and that we are going to be a blessing to this city and a blessing to each other.
I look at it as kind of a godsend, you know, with High Rock coming here. I said, well, here's all those new people we should have been taking in the last few years, and then God gave us, bam, here you go, everybody all at once.
The way that we felt listened to, we felt heard, that it was very clear right from the start that it wasn't, High Rock's gonna come in, you guys are welcome to stay. It was, let's build a community together. Even though we were this big and High Rock was this big, there was so much effort put into making sure that we felt heard.
We don't feel left out. It's great that we've been included in things, whether it's been in the service or other things, and how we've been involved in the community, like sending notes and cards, and it's just been amazing. It's been amazing. I think it was perfect timing in the sense with everything going on now with COVID and with the protests, and to be a part of a larger church that is so much more diverse also than Dane Street. It's just been, it's been amazing.
The fact that we really, on both sides, felt it out and really made sure that it was the right thing to do, I think that knit the communities together much more strongly than just I'm kind of a throw everything together and see what sticks person. So that was, it was strange for me to have to go through that, but I found it very valuable in the end.
It's been tremendous just within the first few services. And yeah, I mean, and pastors reaching out, you reaching out and having dinner at your house, and conversations with Pastor Bryn, and watching Samara do Zoom youth group on Sundays, and getting to know Angie. We feel like High Rock is now our church.
You know, just to see us wind our way through this incredibly long and I don't want to say tortuous, but it was pretty long and challenging 3 or 4 years, specifically with High Rock, as other options faded away and doors were closed. God was clearly leading us in a direction to merge with our sister congregation just down the street. So there's almost no question of the sort of the divine intervention here about how this all happened.
And I think it's wonderful. I really do. I'm excited. I mean, I didn't want to see closed doors in our church, and High Rock was willing to adopt us, and now we can celebrate and look ahead and not look in the rearview mirror.
The real emphasis was on how do we serve those that aren't in our church? That how do we serve those that aren't in our building, that don't know about us and who we are? And I think with High Rock, the opportunity to leverage our scale to plug into some of the expertise is beyond measure. And I think God is using a very different model, if you will, to reach parts of His world that haven't been reached before.
So I just felt my contribution to High Rock could be to be the grandmother of the church, or the great-grandmother, because I love kids. Done a lot of vacation Bible school and all that. So that's important to me. Kids, young people, couples.
You know, I think before we even joined, there were joint worship services where people from High Rock, Arlington, and other High Rock churches were coming to visit. And just the spirit of joy and connectedness and opportunity and optimism and excitement around those had a palpable difference, made a palpable difference in our world and in our church. I know that.